Hey everyone, welcome back to Logic and Making today. Today we're going to be covering how to make horns and claws in Nomad Sculpt. Now, the task of horns and claws can vary species to species. Some species have short horns like nub horns, some species have longer horns like rams and sheep, which is what we're going to be using for this example. But I'll also cover how to make short nub horns as well as long swirly horns. So let's begin. First thing we're going to do is, as usual, delete our sphere. Now for ram horns, we kind of need a very specific shape, and for that we're going to be using the tube tool. As you can see now, we have the basic shape of a ram horn. Now obviously this is way too thin to be a ram horn. This needs to be like way thicker. Thankfully we can do that with the thickness tool. So we are going to have to make some modifications to the shape to make sure we can actually make this look like ram horns. As well as making it, up and straight up and down. Nope, I don't want that. We also want to move out the horns. That way they're more layered like they're supposed to be. Thankfully that's as simple as doing the dots out. It will also give me a nice hard edge to connect to the head with. Now, you might notice the fact that these horns are a giant cylinder. You might. This isn't really going to help us make our triangle, which is fine because that's what the cone tool is for. That's fine because we can take a cone and we can spawn in that's a sphere. I said spawn in a cone. Thank you. And rotate to our position. And there we go. Now I have a fully structured shape. Now as you can see, there is a little bit of overhang, which is fine. You can smooth that out. Take the smooth tool and blend the two together. unlike my other tutorials, this is an opportunity to get ropes with them with the clay and the brush tool, as you're going to be using those to make the basic shaping. That's not half bad. It's not perfect, but we can fix that with a voxel remesh. So remesh it a few times, and as you can see, it all blends together. So now what I do is just smooth it out. Smooth it out. And just like that, we have our basic shaping of ram horns. Now, obviously, this is a very rough example. I don't have a reference to follow for this example, so this is going to be very rough. But follow your Fursuit Horns ref sheet and you'll get along just fine. But what about if we had something a little bit more natural, like, say, nub horns? Well, for that, we're going to need another. For that, we can delete this abomination. And bring out a cone. And similar to our teeth tutorial, we're going to make them tall and length, tall and thin, than spawn. And as for nub horns, just take the basic shape, take your move tool, and just start manipulating. Nub horns are going to be more thin than say a claw. If you have dents in your model, don't be afraid. Just fix the material to the best of your ability, and if they're still a little bit rough, take the smooth tool and go down. And shaping horns is basically just taking a cone and manipulating it. Like, as you can see on my avatar, if I tilt my head slightly, you can see Twistar has horns on them, which is fine. Then we can actually make a horn set like Twistar's if we simply take the model, take the move tool, and drag it out. Now, obviously, this is way too thin, so we can smooth out with the smooth tool. But also, we pulled this cone out too far, which is fine. We can fix that with it. We can fix that with the pixel undo. What you need to do is actually need to take it and pull it less thin. As for usual, my settings are about 50%, 75% on the intensity, and about 150 to 200 pixels on the radius. But yeah, so you just shape the horn out. And again, if it gets a little ledge and stuff on it, don't panic. Just take the smooth tool and smooth it out. And that's basically what you gotta learn a lot of Nomad Sculpt, is don't be afraid to get creative. If you pull things a little too far, or if you pull things a little too thin, undo to where you made your mistake and fix it there. Or, if you make things bumpy, just smooth it out with a smooth tool. I personally recommend Nomad Sculpt the Blender any day of the week, because Nomad Sculpt is a lot more, in my opinion, intuitive, but there's less functionality. Like, you can texture, you can make assets in the Nomad Sculpt a lot easier than Blender, but you can't animate in Nomad Sculpt. But if you wanted to take a model and make it in Nomad Sculpt and then bring it to Blender for animation, you could definitely do that. As you can see, this is basically on Fursuit Horns, if you were just to clone it. Take the gizmo tool and turn it around. That's basically Fursuit Horns, more or less. Actually, it's more like that. But anyway, that's basically handmade horns in Nomad Sculpt. Now, claws are a little bit different. They're basically the same concept. However, they're not as thick or long. Sorry, neighbor's home. Anyway, claws. So yeah, take your cone and validate it. Now for claws, you're gonna want, depending on what species, we're gonna do canine claws for simplicity. But you can shape them however you need for different claw species, claws. You only want to move them very slightly. In very, very minimal amounts. Actually, that's not even too tall. That's better. Yeah, you just want to pull nails out of thin air. A lot of people make nails out of like Minky and foam, which is and Minky and hill stuffing, which is completely okay. I'm not gonna say that's incorrect to do. I'm just saying if you want 3D printed claws, here's a good technique to make them. Now, as you can see, we have a flat base in our clone, which is fine, but it may be a little bit tricky to get into place, which is why we're going to make we're going to make a difference to the horns, and we're going to make an attachment piece. And how we're going to make that attachment piece is with a small cube. So here we have our giant box. We can bring it down inside by a metric ton. And also bring it in by a metric ton. Validate gizmo and move it down into place. You want it sticking out the bottom of our claw, approximately in the center, like so. And you want it sticking out, and you want it sticking out enough that you can manipulate it while still being inside enough that when it fuses, it won't glitch out. Select them both. Click voxel remesh. Nope, not voxel remesh. This is where the join button comes into play, not the voxel remesh button. Join. There we go. And as you can see now, it's one giant piece. Now what we can do is we can zoom into our claw, to our box we made. Take the trim tool and take the trim tool and our rectangle tool, our square, and just manipulate our square hard back, and manipulate our square. Also, turn off symmetry now, and just manipulate our square to the general center. Validate, and as you can see, you got an attachment point for your claws. So you can put thread or a hook through this, and you can have an attachment point for your claws, similar to a keychain, which we'll actually cover in a future tutorial. We'll cover how to make keychains of your persona. But as you can see, we have a nice attachment point for our claws. Now, if we click join once more, as you can see, it's now one giant piece. And we have a claw and an attachment point. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments, and I will cover it. And I will be covering probably. Well, it depends on what you guys want me to cover. If you guys have any specific topics you want me to cover, reach out to me on my socials or in the disc or in the comments, and I will be back again with another tutorial tomorrow or Monday, probably Monday. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later.